What's up, guys? We're back with another video, and today we're going to open up the Athearn Genesis ES40DC for Norfolk Southern. This one's special because it not only makes up for my first Norfolk Southern locomotive in HO scale, but it's also the first highly detailed locomotive that I have. If you remember, I had picked up a few BNSF-9s, but those are more of the roundhouse design. So it has less detail, which you'll see once I compare these two later in the video. But for now, we're gonna get this thing out of the box. Starting production in the early 2000s, the Evolution series was a environmentally friendly diesel-electric locomotive produced by General Electric. As stated before, the Evolution series is a family of multiple locomotives, which does include the ES40DC. The ES40DC was exclusively produced for Norfolk Southern between 2004 and 2008, as they were on a budget and had to get lower horsepower direct current locomotives. These models will replace the C40-9 and C40-9W models that were purchased by Norfolk Southern in the 90s. Norfolk Southern would purchase around 219 models, with their numbers ranging from 7,500 to 7,719. These locomotives still serve Norfolk Southern as of the uploading of this video. They've been upgraded to 4,400 horsepower, as well as the Dash 9s mentioned earlier. Now that we got that brief history of the locomotive out of the way, let's see what this model has to offer. So the first impression of this model is, so far so good. As you saw earlier, it comes in some pretty neat packaging. When you compare that to the other Athearn models that I purchased in the past, which we'll compare to later. But aside from that, I got really good hopes for this model, as it's an Athearn Genesis model, and as I'll show in a few seconds, it's got an immaculate amount of detail. For comparison, I brought in the Dash 9, because there are a few similarities between these two models. The main similarity being the direct current traction motors. Both of them feature direct current traction motors. They also feature a similar cab structure, since they both have the same side window design. They also feature the same trucks, those being the high adhesion trucks. But aside from that, the key difference is the radiator. The radiator of the Evolution series is significantly bigger than that of earlier models like the Dash 9 and the AC44. Now the differences between the actual models here, we'll get to that right now. There are many noticeable differences between the Athearn Genesis line and the Athearn Roundhouse line. The Athearn Genesis model features brake hoses, the multiple unit cable, the cut lever, and windshield wipers, as well as the high-mounted headlights for Norfolk Southern. The trucks on the models are also slightly different. For comparison, this is the Roundhouse model, and this is the Genesis model. The rear of the train also features similar details as the front of the train. The Roundhouse model doesn't feature any piping or air brake detail. However, the Genesis model does include pipe details underneath the frame. Here's a bit of a closer look at the small details underneath the frame of the locomotive. The vents are also slightly different. Here's the venting for the Dash 9. And there's the venting for the ES40DC. The packaging of the models also differ from each other. Of course, there are other differences that I haven't covered, but there's too many of them to list for this video. Alrighty, now that we covered the model, as well as a few differences from the other model, we can finally see what this thing is like on the track. Overall, I think that the Athearn Genesis ES40DC is an outstanding model. It's got an outstanding amount of detail, and it runs incredibly smoothly. If you're a Norfolk Southern modeler, you should definitely pick up one of these locomotives to add to your collection. Now, with that aside, I'd like to thank you all for watching, and I'll see you again in the next video.